Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Spire Coast, the most beautiful biome in the game, and I don't want to hear nothing about it. Now, over on the right-hand side of the screen, we have our to-do list for today. We're going to be building Turbofuel, of course, after we've already established our new compacted coal factory in the desert. Remember, the focus of this playthrough is generally to bring everything into the desert if we can. Some things might remain out where they are, but generally speaking, we're trying to bring things toward the desert, and as such, we have our Spire Stream pipeline, which is now being extended deep into the west, deep into the Spire Coast, so we can go harvest more oil. That's going to then allow us to build up the oil distribution platform and do a little update to it. We're then going to source some silica, just a bit, to have it going in the background so we can do some of the cosmetics and windows for our factory. Get some extra power shards, build the shell of the factory, place in some truck stations, get the heavy oil going, then the turbo fuel, and then the generators. So we have a lot to do today. And I thought I would just show you guys what I've been busy doing. Nope, it's nothing to do with Sam. I've been busy building out the pipeline. Now, previously it ended roughly around here where I'm looking, and now I've extended it further out west, cutting deep to the south, and then cutting west yet again. I just need to land somewhere. So I thought, just as I built this in between episodes, of course, if you want to see how this was built, 2 videos ago, the entire video was dedicated to going and capturing the first bit of oil by snaking our way through the canyon and building the blueprints for this, which I've obviously given out for free. You can go build it yourself if you wanted to, or make amends to it if you feel like you can improve it. And of course we have our zip line that rolls all the way down. So the next set of oil is here. By the way, the reason I cut it south and then west is because I was actually going to run straight into like the rocky kind of cliff area here. So I just thought, well, we might as well just cut through the center. There's going to be oil on our right and our left then, which kind of helps with our 3-lane layout here of the pipes anyways. So if we just climb up here real quick, we can actually see there's even more oil right in front of me, but we could do, actually we don't need to do a scan. I'll show you where I am on the map though. Boom, right here, coordinates 369, negative 2,200 or thereabouts. So we have the Spire Stream pumping station A, and now of course we have B. We have an oil extraction node right there, and then there's another one here and another one just a little further off in the distance. So of course when I'm doing these, I have my little staircase that can help us come down with power traveling down. This is built in the exact same way that the previous one was, so if you want to see how it was done 2 videos ago, if my editor, whose name is also Darren, and he also might be me, has any competence, he'll put this on screen right now, but there you go, there's the video from 2 days ago. I'd like to think it's just not there. Anyways, that will show you, like, yeah, we got to place the pumps down, so on and so forth. The only difference, actually, with this one would be that I've got a little power switch now so we can turn things on, and as you'll notice, we've got 2 pipelines coming in here, but one of them ends. That's because the nodes out there are normal and impure. As a result, one of them can only give us 150, the other can give us 300. Our best pipeline is 300 right now. So, in the future, this will merge here to be a pipeline of 450. But for now, it's just going to be 300. That node over there is 300. It's actually a pure node, so it could do 600 in the future, but both of them are just going to be rocking 300 for now. So, let's turn these on. Pumping station B is active. And it'll take a little while for things to get going, but if we just maybe have a little zoomy zoom and have a look. By the way, you do that by pressing P photo mode, hide the UI with middle mouse button, and then scroll. People always ask that, and I always mention it, but they always ask. Now, while we're waiting for oil to move along here, I've been busy gathering tons of slugs. This biome is just riddled with power slugs everywhere, in pretty easy to get to spaces if you have a jetpack, right? So just going around and capturing as many of these as we can, because we're going to need quite a lot of power shards for all of the generators. Now, just while I'm also grabbing them, I thought I would just very quickly answer the question of why not diluted fuel, why not rocket fuel, why not ionized fuel? Maybe because we haven't even got to phase 3 yet. I don't even have a computer factory, let alone aluminum and all the other things that you need to get rocket fuel. I have no doubt rocket fuel is more efficient, but we gotta walk before we can run. At least I'd rather walk before I start running. Of course, you could just sit there building the biggest factory and turn it all on and then never have to worry about power again, but I don't know, it's a little less fun doing that, I think, anyway. So I'd like to kind of, you know, progress, I suppose. So yeah, so this will be a modest turbo fuel factory. And there is also the question of diluted packaged fuel, which would have shown up in the previous video as well. This is something I've talked about in my stream. This is really just a Darren thing. I just don't like diluted packaged fuel. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, the recipe for diluted packaged fuel is a recipe where you have to get... You make a certain amount of canisters, right? These iron canisters that we made in the previous episode. You mix water and heavy oil in them, and then it gives you packaged fuel. And then to get the fuel out, you got to reverse a packager and get the fuel out of the canisters, and then you're left over with the canisters, which can cycle back into the loop and keep doing that. Now, I know that might sound fine to most people, but I find it really weird that it's a recipe that makes something in a bottle, and you have to take the thing out of the bottle. I sort of just feel like, I could be wrong, but to me, it very much feels like they made that recipe not really thinking about the fact that you can get fuel out of the package. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just wrong of me to feel that way, but no other recipe really behaves that way. So, not going to use it. Just don't like it. Don't find it fun. Don't like it. However, once we get blenders later on, there's a recipe for diluted fuel, which mixes water and heavy oil in a blender, a machine that's dedicated to mixing liquids together. And I'll definitely use that, because that's cool. But anyway, I also just like Turbofuel, so take it or leave it. It's one of my pet peeves. I recommend using diluted packaged fuel if you don't have this weird chip on your shoulder about how things should be all the time, and just play the game for what it is. So yeah, I just thought I would answer that. Now again, speaking about the distribution platform, the reason that we have one at all is because of better recipes in the future. It's like, oh yeah, in the future we'll make ionized fuel, rocket fuel, all these different things, diluted fuel, whatever it might be. So the whole point of keeping oil separate than the factory it's going into is so that we can change things here, especially since we've got buffers and everything, without affecting what's currently going on, reroute oil to keep that one going, maybe reroute oil into a new factory, a new build, while we're changing things. So that's the whole point. It'll kind of make sense when we get a bit further in, but that's why we have a separate platform than where it just goes straight in. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on this platform. I want to build it so that we have 3 buffers in a row. Each of these buffers only does 400 per minute. It's quite low. Now you can get the big buffer, right, which does, I think, 2400, so very thick indeed. But it is thick. It takes up way more space, and I just personally would like to keep it quite, you know, 1 foundation per pipeline. Suppose we could have thickened it out, but 3 of these in a row, 1200 per minute, that's totally fine by me. Or not per minute, 1200 storage, totally fine by me. So just going to build these out. We're going to extend the platform as well, hook them back up, and then by the time the oil gets here, it should be filling all of these up nicely. Alright, cool. So I'll put 2 extra buffers in there in just a minute, but remember I did say that our power is going to start hitching a little bit, because I did cut off oil here for just a couple of minutes. So what we can do to alleviate that is I can just turn off this and turn off this. Interestingly, they're actually building up heavy oil. Maybe they're not going to run out. And then I can turn this one off and this one. So that's a total of 60 heavy oil that we've kind of turned off now. And that's going to allow our buffers to refill themselves. And it means that I just have to turn off 1 of these, because it takes in 60 per minute. And that's making 40 fuel per minute. So what we can do, in the previous video, I had just set this to 40, so we can turn that off. And that's a clean separation, I guess, right? So the numbers should be all clean now. We should be still making just the right amount of heavy fuel, and that means that or heavy oil, and that means now in these buffers we're going to be saving up more oil than we're consuming here, thus giving me time to just kind of like rebuild it and not affect anything too deeply. All right, so there we go. So not too different, right? We just extended the platform out so we have an additional foundation here. We've added valves to all of the pipelines that are going down underneath, and then underneath this is where we can kind of then redistribute and figure out where we're going to send things. Now I widened the pipes here, so I made a gap between them, just because it'll make life a little easier later, especially when we add pumps to them, because they're going to be going up top, I think, above this place. So in order to do that, I brought this down in the center point and then just did a straight loop in on itself. It was like the cleanest way I could kind of make that work. And then this one just comes down at the right angle, so that's pretty straightforward. We're going to have to bring this one down and latch it into here, and then similarly for that one, go from there. I think by now, fuel has probably filled these things. Let's have a look. Oh my god, we're just about to hit 400, which means we are lined up. Alright, cool. Are all of these like that now? Yeah. Oh, nice. That was actually pretty quick. Okay, cool. So, well, just to be safe, I should check the other one as well. Yes, we are good. And the valves are locked, so we're not letting anything through. These ones are open, of course, and they're flowing at 300 per minute again, so we would expect these to be filling up now too, because I did have to delete the pipes. Yeah, so they're a little slow, but we'll wait for them to get to full speed before we then turn back on those machines. So in the meantime, I'm just going to reorganize these pipes coming down and latch them onto these ones and continue them down that way. Alright, there we go. It's as easy as that. Wasn't too bad at all. It can be a little finicky sometimes, so I decided just to do it myself really quickly, but that's basically it. They both just come down, turn, and then join. Now we've got 4 pipelines in total heading in. Now we're going to be sending them up via pumps. I haven't exactly determined how or where they're going to go just yet, but they should be mirrored into refineries that are going to be upstairs just like this. But that is our oil distribution platform update done. Next up, we're going to do silica and slugs. This should be pretty quick too. So we're going to go off to where I make quartz crystal. It's just a very, very small amount over to the right. I have my little quartz crystal production icon just over there. And I'm actually going to grab this power line, connect it into that one, and delete this one. This one always looked a little messy to me. It's just a bit more uniform before we get out into the sticks, where there's no roads. Alright, so I think actually the quartz crystal is completely full over here. So we could just modify an existing miner without having to pile onto the power network too much more before we build something proper here in future. So yes, this should be easy enough. Right, so we get another constructor there, another one here. We're going to go with a, let's see, a smart splitter. And in there, we'll set this to overflow out the left. So the reason it's totally full, by the way, sorry, it's that this makes quartz crystal. It just goes into a depot and it goes into the dimensional depot, sorry, container and then depot. So it's just for me to be able to build like certain cosmetics and things with. It's not really used for anything else. This takes in 37.5. This needs 22.5. So that is 83.33 recurring. I just know that because we've done it recently. So 83.333 recurring. And that will balance these two machines so that when the first one gets full... So basically we've got quartz as a priority, and then these two are secondary. Only when quartz is full will we actually produce silica, but that's fine. It's just to go into my inventory anyway. We'll just give it a little container here. We don't need a big one. And give it a merger. Actually, I should do the merger first. It'll probably be easier. Something like that. Don't know why the container is like off to the side like that, but whatever. Send that in there. Cool. Alright, and then depot time. Now, as I mentioned in the previous, we'll put a Mark III on these, just in case we upgrade it. We want it to go in a bit quicker. And there we go. So this should keep things perfectly balanced, I would hope. Don't see why not. Right, cool, nice. So that is, well, it's 50 silica per minute if everything works out correctly. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes because we did do it quite quick. Next thing is to go over to our base at the space elevator and make some slug juice. Alright, here we are. So at the slooping area, we basically want to turn our slugs into more efficient power shards. So we'll just go with power shard number 1. So this is blue slugs. We'll just throw them in there manually. I think I've actually got some in here. If we just type slug, we can go pull these out of the dimensional depot. I'll throw in the blue ones first, let them make their way out, snake their way in. After that, I suppose, we'll do the yellers. They can make their way out, but they're going to just wait for this machine to get done. So we're now making, every one slug is being made into 2 shards. Just going to wait for these 7 cycles to be done, and then we can maybe just move away from here and take a quick mini break before we switch into the yellows, and then we'll switch into the purples just after that. Alright, so power slug 2, or power shard 2, is going to fill up nicely. So every one of these we get 4 now. Love it. Alright, I'll be back here in just a minute. What I'm going to do is at this road, I'm going to straighten it out, or level it out. So I'm not really a big fan of that little dip here. So we're going to line this with here. This should be pretty straightforward because it was done with blueprints. So we can just remove these sections. Another one there. Another one there. Oh my god. Perfect. Alright. I don't think the route's going to actually have to change. The one that's on it. There's only one active route right now. This is just crazy the amount of power shards you get. It's just making them in batches of 10. So we threw in, I think, 21 purple slugs. So 210 more power shards. We just have so many now, like 360, and we're still not done. Oh, that's it. There we go. Very, very fruitful indeed. All right, well, with that out of the way, that is slugs and silica now ticking up in the background. At least the silica is. So we're going to get to building the shell of the factory itself. So this is going to be pretty straightforward. I wanted to make the factory look somewhat decent, but not spend forever on it. I mean, just recently, actually, after coming up with the mini design for this one, I was looking online to get inspiration, and I, you know, frequent the Reddit, the community hub on Steam, and then also Fluxo Builds on YouTube is a really great channel for showing you how to build like really cool and intricate designs. Won't be doing anything like that now, but maybe in the future. I've only started looking at it recently, some of his videos where they break it down. How to make things look good but not take too long, and then blueprint them and that kind of thing. So I still have to learn some of that stuff, but a lot of it does require you to clip stuff through other things. Anyways, this will be pretty simple, but the idea is that we're going to stack these refineries up on top of themselves, and I want a sort of rib cage going around the entire factory made of carbon steel coated concrete. So we're going to start with the coated concrete foundation here. Of course, this takes plastic. We could only use it now that we've got the first initial refineries in place. I'm starting on the halfway mark of a foundation, so we're spilling over a little bit. And I'm going to bring this all the way down to the very other far edge, and this will allow us to kind of gauge what kind of spacing we need on these. I want a spacing of 3, but I just want to make sure it's even all the way down. Right, so we're going to start from this side primarily first because, the sand kind of creeps into the factory if we go too far out. So if I was to bring this a little further here and we go down that way, sand starts to cut through. Just so this is kind of the limit here before we want to go up another floor or something. So we'll start with this. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 and just cut that away. 1, 2, 3, cut it away. And just keep doing that. Alright, cool. So we'll just get rid of that one at the end. So we just have to extend this platform out just a little bit, and that should be okay. We'll get to that a bit later. And we can remove this railing, I guess. Yeah, these are ready to run at 100% again. The oil is totally full on all the other machines, so we'll just turn these back on, let them do their thing, and then we'll turn back on the fuel generator over there, and we'll also turn back on this heavy oil here. So just kickstarting it back up and running. All the numbers should work themselves out then again. Good. Right, anyways, these are our little anchor points. So now that we've got one foundation in place, we'll go vertical mode all the way up to 10. I'm going to do this for each one. Alright, cool. And then we'll do it at the same thing at the bottom. Just bring it all the way down to the very bottom so it looks kind of more like pillars. Right, so now we need to make sure the roof clears the chimney stacks by a decent amount because we're going to have lights in here as well. So I'm going to go up to the 10th foundation, which is there. Just one from the top, and bring that all the way across. And that should be plenty of room now, I think, for the chimney stacks to kind of breathe their smoke and have some clearance. Right, we're going to go up even higher, and we're going to build these up another 10, and see how we get on with that. So 10 each to these. Okay, so now in the blueprints I've added 2 new categories. We have power, so that's going to have my fuel generator and generator with catwalk. We'll show that a bit later. Universal cosmetics now is going to be under the walkway category. We've got a catwalk with LEDs that has lights on the sides. And then we also have now inside of the architecture category, oil refinery T, the ORT wall segment top, etc., etc. So if you remember, I had said before that it's good to name blueprints based on the kind of factory that they're in, and I try to give all my factories general naming conventions. So oil refinement T, I've called it oil refinement T for Turbofuel, so that's going to be the ORT factory. The compact to coal factory, that's either CCF or just CC, it's totally fine, that kind of thing. I do that for both naming the truck routes, so we can find those routes easily. Same with train stations, but it's also good for blueprints because you end up getting so many blueprints later on that it's like, I can't type out the name of the entire factory, and if we just named this wall segment, well, it's like I might have a lot of different wall segments. So this one is clearly for this factory, okay? So, because you can put them in categories, but you can't have 2 blueprints the same name, so you have to give it some sort of acronym at the beginning, I think, if you want to have lots of things doing the same sort of thing. So we're going to start off with the wall segment bottom. So this is it here. Turn it sideways, sink it down at the front until it's just that little bit sticking over, and then move it in so that it's into the middle. Now we'll just nudge that across and bring it one step towards me. So we're just 1 meter in. Yeah, so that'll be 1 meter, 1 meter, and that means that there's actually plenty of space on this side. It's like definitely further in on the left than it is in the middle. It's not center aligned, and that's by design. So this is our ORT wall segment bottom. We'll lock it in. Blueprint mode will switch to the top segment and lock it in. Now that's it. It's pretty simple. We're going to do that in every lane here. Now, before I even get to that, I want to go upstairs to do the next bit up high and just make sure that my spacing and everything is all correct on this. Alright, so being up here is awesome. We're going to get now the foundations 4 meter. but we need it to be coated concrete, please. Like so. And I'll do zoop all the way across, just to help me get these aligned with every single one of these. But I'm just going to remove the gaps anyway, so we can get rid of that in just a sec. There. Alright, so we are lined up. Let's just get rid of these gaps of 3 in the middle now. Alright, so there we go. We can cut away those gaps. So, the next thing now... Let me just see if I can remember what the plan is. We need the double ramp, 8 meters, to go up twice. And then I'm going to get the foundation here. And I'll bring it to the left. And bring it across 4 times. So it's there. Right, I think this will work now. So opening up blueprints again, we now have the ORT rooftop segment. And then we have the ORT rooftop segment with light. It doesn't, I don't know which one I should use first, but I'm going to start with the lights first. Right, so this is the segment here. It's just concrete. This is just an anchor. So we'll pop the concrete in line with our little thing there. So we do this once. Right, and then we rotate it around. I don't think the direction should matter, although it might. So let me just check which way the light's facing underneath. Oh yeah, this is correct. As long as the light symbol is away from you, then things are good. So 2, 3, and 4. So that's 16 meters out in total. Now, the next... So we can get rid of this now. Now the next one is to get the wall segment here. So now it's just going to snap to itself, which is great. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's no light on that one. So we're alternating the whole way down. Hopefully it'll add up where it makes sense. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me grab the one with the window again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Grab the one with the lights again. Are we lined up? Just making sure. Yes, we are. Cool. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this might be the final one, is it? Actually, no. I think there's one more after this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good thing we made that silica. Actually, we're totally out. We're running low, I mean. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And that'll be the last one, actually, which is nice because that's lights as well. So now, just on this side, I could... No, I won't use a blueprint. It'll just be easier just to get this segment up. So we'll go with the double ramp yet again. 1, 2. Grab this and just go straight out with that in a line to get all the way down to the other end. And then, on this side, we do the double ramp again, and we just reverse it, right? So it's like I said, a big sort of rib cage, except that there's no gap between them. Now, on this side, we can only go as far as it'll be allowed until we hit sand. So go to there, and then bring this across. And then inside this, we'll fill it with the asphalt. We'll have to change some of it to be concrete, but I think about 3 layers, 1, 2, 3, of asphalt's probably enough, and then the rest can be truck station, or concrete for the truck stations. Alright, cool. So that's one room for a little truck station, maybe even 2. Alright, so now the next thing is to try to line this stuff up with our walls. So a 4-meter roof here that just goes down 3 should do the job, I think. Oh yeah, there's quite a big gap actually here. I feel like I've gone a meter too high. Well, I could just modify this blueprint to extend it up 1 layer. That might work out. Good thing we didn't put too many of these down. So we'll grab this blueprint. Now we can just say middle. Then we can say top. And we just have to make sure we're aligned with the right one. There we go. Cool. Alright, so now it goes all the way to the top. And it has its beam on top and everything. Yes, so it's against the seam. That's all I wanted to make sure of. So, looks good. Now, the only last missing piece of the puzzle that you may have noticed even up top is that we need the carbon steel finish for each of these pillars. So we'll just paint it all the way down. And that gives us a really nice black sheen. So it's black on red for Turbofuel. So that's like oil is kind of the color for the black, you know. And then the Turbofuel itself is red, so that's the reason I chose these two to go together. And plus red and black just always looks kind of good anyway. So there we go, a bit evil, perhaps. So I'm just going to do this all the way down. So obviously the bottom segment here only needs a top, but this needs a bottom, a middle, and a top. So that's the only difference between the floors, but I'm okay with that. It's not a big deal. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. So we've got a completely symmetrical build. The front is now going to be mirrored at the back. The only difference would be I've left some of it open just for now while I figure out what we're going to do with this space, right? So it's covered in sand. So I could build a slightly raised room that is sort of like a control room for the entire building with some power switches or something like that, or even just a description of what goes on in here, like some signs and that kind of thing. Because I obviously use Milanote, my little planning document thing, where I kind of draw everything out and I hand those out to people so they can kind of build along if they want. But it'd be kind of cool just to have an in-world explanation of how things work. So I might get to that. We'll see. Now, I just wanted to mention briefly, really quickly before we move on, that I've added a new blueprint here called the floor segment with light and then the floor segment. So much like I had upstairs, we had the rooftop segment and the rooftop segment with light. You can see the pattern. So instead of using the actual rooftop material, we're using a double floor. So it's a foundation of 1 meter. So on the bottom, underneath here, we see like the grip metal, and then on top, we just see concrete. So that way we're able to have two different patterns, if that makes sense. Because I like using like polished concrete and stuff, but then I don't like having a real shiny roof. It looks weird, so sometimes anyway. And of course, then I just decided to continue the look and feel of the sort of pillar structure going all the way across underneath. So I just added that as well. It's just a 2 meter foundation that's sunken down a little bit. And that's pretty much it. So we'll get to building our truck stations now. Oh, I should mention as well, we don't have a way of getting up and down yet, so I just have this outside staircase. What I'm thinking is a stairwell could go like here and another one here, so a double tower stairwell that leads up and down. Obviously this place is ripe for a big stairwell that would lead up also, specifically like right here. However, I do plan on having the generators right above me, so it's also it would just fit better if the towers could be almost external. And then I'll figure out how to do the walls on the sides, because obviously we've just left it open. It kind of almost looks like a big train terminal or something like that. That's kind of how what I would initially think it is if I just looked at it from the outside. Anyways, I've also built another blueprint, because I do build these little fences a lot, right? I have my road barrier, then with the modern railing on top. So I decided inside of the road transport infrastructure category here to have RB, so road barrier generic. And then 4F, 3F, it's how many foundation segments there are in 0.5. So this would just be like one little bit. And that way I can just scroll through them quite nicely. So if we have a look here, 1, 2, 3. So I would just have to press number 6 on my hotbar and look for the one that says 3. There we go. And snap it in. Now obviously in just a little place like this, it's not like the most important thing to do, but it's kind of nice just to have it ready. And we'll just do that here as well. It just makes life a little quicker, especially for me, the way I always do painting. You can use blueprint mode now and just keep like moving on down. Then this one would just be a 1 foundation, so that's pretty easy too. And so on and so forth. Now I'm just going to get rid of this bit. We'll put down this truck station, then I have to actually drive the route to bring the compacted coal here. And then we're going to be trying to soft replace these without letting power go down. We need the power from this place to actually allow us to build the new refineries. So we can't overload it, otherwise everything shuts down, and that'll be a bit of a problem. So the idea is that we're going to build upstairs refineries first, and then downstairs we can replace it, we can shut these off. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Anyways, right, so we've got 1, 2, 3 foundations in. I'll have to move it over even further, so we have to aim it out here basically, don't we? Yep. Alright, anyways, so bump, bump, bump. Good. And good. Right. We are locked in. Alright, so that's the truck station. We obviously need to just give it power. Power lines and stuff here is just going to be temporary for a little bit until I figure it out. Now, we've called this place the ORT. So ORT, this is going to be an import station. This will be bay number 3. And then we're going to say that it is compacted coal imports. Pretty simple. And we'll say the vehicle is going to unload. We don't need to fuel it. We're going to fuel it on the other side. And that's something we have to get to actually just in a moment. Right, here we are. Just go through this little gap. Perfect. Oh my god, nailed it. Right, so in order to fuel this place, what we'll have to do is build a floor hole. Actually, I do need to go upstairs thinking about it because I need to see where that floor hole is. There we are. So we're going to stick it in right there. Alright, cool. So that's ready to go. So downstairs now. Can see a lovely floor hole right in front of our other one, but we'll aim it out to the side, so it should not be a problem. Like so, and bring this down. Maybe line it up with this thing. Does that look good? That looks great. This is going to be in the center line of the foundation, so we'll start here, and we'll go forward up to about there. I think that should be right. I think. Build a Mark 1 belt leading over. So that goes over and in. All good. Then we're going to need a smart splitter. Here. Super smart. And that's going to go that way. And that's going to go in here. Oh, really? It doesn't fit in. Why? Okay. Can we do this and then down? Yep. Alright, so... Oh, this isn't smart at all. Now it is. Out the left, we're going to send the overflow. And then what we'll do is we'll just set this to, I don't know, 270 per minute. So that our belt doesn't have to change. Stays as Mark 3. The overflow flows out the left. We go up on a Mark 1 belt, and we head up towards fuel. Now, I've just added 30 per minute, but the journey time might be, and probably will be, far less than that. So, in order to keep the machines running, we'll send it into this awesome sink. Now, it's a bit weird. This is 480 per minute rolling in there. Ideally, if everything is running, there will be nothing going in there. We're going to use all 480 per minute compacted coal. So, I'm confident enough in sending something into this one. So, we'll send a merger here, and then overflow. Overflow out the right. Okay, cool. So now compact, or just regular coal, is going up into the fuel of the truck station. When that gets backed up, it'll roll and continue into the awesome sink. Now, at first, that's probably going to back up because this belt can't go any faster for the moment. So it'll end up backing up and maybe messing with either the machines or with the miner, but it shouldn't be too bad. It'll be fine. Once we start sending the compacted coal, it'll all kind of fix itself. So hopefully that's all good. I'll have to paint this area when I get back here in a moment, but I just want to get driving the route. So here we are. I'll just check that it is set to load. It is indeed. All right, we'll say tractor. Something I need to do is put down some patterns on the roads here as well, just to make it look a bit more lived in. And we'll just give it coal. And I'll hit start on record. I guess we'll just pick up manually here the first time. Even a little bit's fine. And I'll hit start on the record just once we get onto the main road. Yeah, here we go. All right, so start. Let's go. All right, so we just pull in here, enter into our truck station, unload, drop our stuff off. We'll set the timers on these things in just a bit, and then we just roll out and around. Straightforward. Don't think we'll hit into anything that way. Alright, easy as that. So we'll just say that this is coming from the CCF. I keep thinking that's Copper Caterium, but no, it's Compacted Coal Factory to the ORT, and it's delivering compacted coal. Alright, simple as that. Alright, so I've just added a few little patterns here to give the place a little life. I've also colored the tractor based on the factory it came from, so it should be easier to track that way. So we basically have bay number 3 here, where we drop off the compacted coal. We have some parking areas just over there. No parking here, unfortunately. So you roll forward, you have that space to turn around, rejoin the main road back out. If you were coming down this way, you'd be banking to the left. So this would be your contention point, right? This is where you might end up colliding or hitting into something. I wouldn't say bank to the left here. You'd probably bank to the left actually about here. And as long as you're going straight left, it should be okay. You shouldn't actually hit into this. Let's see if this guy goes around all right. Stay within the line, man. Hey, that's a close one. Alright, happy enough with that. So, we could say that the truck stations are in place now. So the next thing is heavy oil refinement. So we need to head upstairs to get started on that. We're just basically going to mirror this floor. So I'll bring up the Milano document on screen every now and then, but we could just see that basically 10 refineries for rubber, 10 refineries for plastic. That's 300 heavy oil out, and it's 300 heavy oil in for each group of 10. So yeah. So we're just going to build them here in line with where we have it downstairs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 8, 9, and 10. Nice. Easy peasy. We'll have to connect those up together, obviously. So down here, yep, we look like we're in line. We have the gap between the machines. It's a 1 foundation gap. That just worked out so nicely, actually. That's the window. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That should be that. Oh yeah, we have to put the walls on this side as well. I gotta figure it out. actually still, I suppose, and where the stairs are going to go. Alright, there we go. So all 20 machines are now hooked up. They share the same heavy oil pipeline, of course, so that'll be 300 heavy oil per minute. But they are separated by their crude oil, and they're also separated by their output. So what we're going to do is, I think the cleanest way to just bring this stuff downstairs, because it can all fit on one belt, so we don't have to move the truck stations or do anything else, but this pipeline would be in the way. So I'm going to actually just bring this out just a bit to about there, and we'll cut across 2. And we'll try to line up with plugging into this one, so 1, 2. Now, I've been using the kind of purpley color for this pipeline, so do that. And then the unpainted for the joints. So that should be totally fine, I think. Now what we can do is actually just build floor holes. Now, because these are 1 meters, we'll have to delete them and put down 2 meters in their place, and then we can just replace it after the fact if we want. But that way the floor hole will actually go through. Otherwise it would only go through 1 meter and it would look weird. So we'll go to about there. Is that right? Are we lined up? Yep. And then we'll have to go here. So this is going to be a Mark III reversed receiving. And this one will just snap in automatically. Cool. So we can replace this in a moment, but I'm just going to hop through without 2 Mark Is, that is. And we come down to this point. Now we can grab from here, Mark III, down, in you go. Down and in you go. And nothing else would really need to change. I guess for safety? Although, no, yeah, nothing else would need to change because it's 200 per minute traveling on this. So then it's 200 plus, what is it, 20? So 220, 240, 260, 280. So this would need to be a Mark IV. So for consistency then, I will just make it a Mark IV. Just to that point, make that a Mark III. Alright, and that's totally fine. And then it becomes a Mark IV. And it goes in as Mark IV. Alright, so just make those adjustments, upgrading these belts to a higher speed. Ah, just realized something. They're going to each need their own awesome sync. They won't be able to merge up like this onto the one line, because we're making 400 per minute now each. At the moment, they're currently doing 200 per minute, so they're able to merge up together. So instead, what we'll do is we'll just place an awesome sync on this side. And that way they're still mirrored. So an awesome sync, quite close by, why not? And we'll send that 400 per minute in there. Connect it up, and we'll set this to overflow out the right. Excellent. Cool. So we can cut this off now. And this one and so on and so forth. So all this apparatus doesn't need to be there anymore. Alright, well either way, that's what we got. I'll have to just reconfigure the floor. Actually, one of the nice things about blueprints is we can just remove this now. So that bit I just put in. We can remove this, copy this one, bung it back in, and it does all the replacing for me. Although did I rotate it around the wrong way? Yes. Alright, so, and just like that, it just replaces it all for me. Excellent, right? Right, so for bringing up the oil, we need to do the very same thing, right? We need a 2-layer foundation, a 2-meter foundation, and then we'll just get our floor holes to be in line with here. So there and there. I guess we could leave that one in place. We'll redo this in just a second anyway. So 1, in you go, in you go. These are colored carbon steel, actually, and then I've just gone with the yellow for the supports. Excellent. Alright, so downstairs we just now need to put pumps on, but very easily, just using horizontal to vertical mode. We can now just aim straight up at these. Just like that, we are basically done. So I will just also go with the carbon steel, please. Now, we haven't actually released the valves yet for the oil to travel this way, and we've got a bit of a temporary job for the wiring in some respects, but this is going to be a Mark II power pole to power the additional 4 connections that we're going to need here. Now, the oil is coming in from all the way over there, so if I just bring this across to here, we know that we have at least to that height, right? So we can start from somewhere up above that. So let's see, pump. So I would say even just a pump somewhere in here would be good. I'll just get my first wall segment down. Right, I was just thinking about which way to anchor these. I just want the pumps not clipping through anything. So we'll go out like this, 1, 2. And here, rotate that around so it's center aligned, and then 1, 2. I think there is actually correct. As the actual red bar thing is aiming straight out towards me, so that's good. Right, now we'll just have a hologram that tells us where to go, so that's totally fine. Lock us in. For some reason, when you do this now, you can only rotate at 90-degree intervals. I don't know why it does that, but that's okay. Right, and then this one as well. So aim it the other way, lock it in. Cool. Alright, we can get rid of that, get rid of this, get rid of our little walkway. Although that might be good to have in future, actually. And then just connect these up. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then finally, I'll just give them the unpainted... Oh no, not unpainted, we'll do yellow. Cool. Alright, so we are now ready to... Oh, we're not fully ready to turn this on. We have to handle the heavy oil, of course. Alright, so on the distribution platform, we know that this is running at 300 per minute. This is running at 300 per minute, and we want to do the same for the following two. So we'll just adjust the valves. Ugh. Oh, you love to see it. You love to see it. Right, and then this one as well. Nice. So give it a minute or two. This should get up to 300 per minute. Looks like it's actually just about to do it already. And we're golden. 300 per minute, rolling out. Now, that's going to cause a very slow but... Oh! Our tractor ran out of fuel. I'll have to check that. Alright, so I found the culprit. The miner was only set to 240. I typed in 270, but of course I didn't pop in the extra power shard, so it just reset back. You may have noticed that one internet cookie point if you did. So setting it to 270, right away we can see a little bit of overflow making its way out. So I'm just going to grab some of this. Actually, do I have coal on me? I've got a little bit. We'll just feed it the truck one more time manually, and it should automate from then on out. Poor little guy. He ran dry. It's totally full up as well. Alright, cool. So he's off again. Alright, so there's one. We need 8 on the top floor and 8 on the bottom floor. So there's 1. Blueprint mode. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Alright, we are all good. Now what we can do, take that heavy oil pipeline, send it straight in here. We'll hook these guys up to power, but we're not going to feed them the compacted coal. And that will fill the inventory of all the Turbofuel refineries with heavy oil. So it'll have nowhere else to go. And then everything will run at 100% because the pipes will be completely full. When the pipes are full, you get your full throughput. You do not get your full throughput if you don't fill them, because they're not like belts. Belts move things at a consistent pace, whereas pipes move at a variable speed based on how full they are. So you want them to move them at the max speed when the pipe is full. Right, they are online, which means, oh, look at that. They are just receiving that thick, heavy oil residue. Love to see it. Alright, so it looks like the machines are completely filled with heavy oil residue now. So just temporarily, I'm just going to make a buffer here, and we'll stick in any excess overflow that's just going that way. And I'll just flush it if we don't need it. This will keep our machines running. Now, I've been a bit slow with it. So these machines on the end are actually going to be all completely backed up, and they can't get their heavy oil out. And they're never going to be able to get it out because we're doing 300 per minute and it's a 300 per minute pipe. So what you'd have to do is just delete them out of the thing. So that's my bad. I shouldn't have let that happen, really. But that's what you do if you run into this situation. So just clear these out. Now they've got somewhere to go. The 300 per minute is going to fill into that buffer. Obviously, there's 2400 in there. So we can kind of work out how many minutes we have before we have to just keep continuously flushing it. But at least this allows everything to get ramped up to 100% a little quicker. So as long as you don't mind doing that, we should be green lights across the board and stay that way. Alright, so we need to work out where these generators are going to go. I think I'm just going to work from the back and bring it forward. That'll give us room to play with. So I've got 2 blueprints here in my new power section, fuel generators. We have the ORT fuel generator with catwalk. So this is going to be it here. I want to leave space between, for walkways between this and this. I haven't actually worked out the spacing of these, so that's 1, 2, 3. And then it's going to be 1, 2. Yeah, I think we've got enough space. I'm pretty sure anyway. Right, so I'm just wondering if it's going to be too much to one side. If it is, I guess I'll redo this bit. So we'll just push it down pretty close to the end, leaving just a 1 gap between here and the wall. So there. And we'll lock that in. We'll go blueprint mode, rotate it around to be the same way. That's 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 will do the job. It's actually pretty good. It gets down just about to the area I would have wanted it to. And we have a built-in walkway here with little lights on it. Although you can't really see the lights very well, I must admit. I guess this place is relatively well lit. Although at nighttime, I guess actually when we cover these areas a bit more, we might see some more natural lighting in here. Because I've used this blueprint before, not with the generator, but with the walkway. And it can actually look really good, especially in the dark. So we'll check it out later. Now, these are hooked up on the right side, but they're not going to be hooked up on the left side. So we've got generator with catwalk. The alternate is just the regular generator. And we rotate that around. It should be the correct spacing. Yes, good. Alright, so we need 8 of these. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Oh, just a bit short on rubber. Although we're about to get some anyway through the dimensional depot. Now, you might notice that these are already set to 200%. They already have the power shards in them. But I do, of course, need to hook up these pipes together and bring the turbo fuel in. So let's just do that next. All good. Now, we just need to connect that final one up here. And give it its paint. Right, so 200%. Now you'll notice these are not hooked up to their power poles. They have power poles in the blueprint ready to go, but they're not hooked up on purpose. Because if they were hooked up, they would start burning their fuel immediately, even just on a network of 1 power pole. So we'll connect them later after they get their fuel. Now you might be like, but darn, you just told me that the refinery needs to be on in order to accept fuel. That's true. Or liquids. It's not true of generators. Generators can be totally powered off with the switch off and everything and still receive. So it just is what it is. So we're going to allow these to be totally filled up as well before we turn them on. Alright. Alright, so with the fuel generators in place now, we can actually hook up the turbo fuel. The first thing I'm just going to do though is get a little fluid buffer. And I'll talk about why. We don't really need this. It's more for convenience. So I'll place it in the middle here. Center aligned. Good. Get this to go straight in, so we'll just go to there, 1, 2, and in you go. And then this one, we'll grab this, bring it center aligned down this way, 1, 2, and send it in. Right, so why do we have this? Well, basically, this can be our point of checking all of these generators. If we're wondering when these are all going to get their 50 liquid and be totally full and ready to be turned on, we can instead just check this. When this is totally full, we know we're good to go. So it's just an easier way to check things, I guess. But it's not really needed. That won't affect anything in a negative way, but I just thought it was worth mentioning that you could do without it if you want. Just going to do carbon steel as our little accent. Now, that is the turbo fuel refineries set up and ready to go. We just now need to give them the compacted coal from down below. How's the heavy fuel looking? Oh, wow. Whoops. Oh, yeah, we've already started to back up those far end machines. This thing just fills so quickly. Anyways. Right, so compacted coal needs to come up from downstairs. We're just going to have to cut this off then. That's the floor hole. Now that the hole is in place, we'll just lock this back in. Alright. Cosmetics are a pain. Now, we'll send that out. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be Mark III'd out of its mind. And in you go. Alright, great. Now, hopping downstairs. This is going to have to go from, come in from the truck station. Now, just temporarily, I'm going to wrap around these things for the time being, just to get these initial generators and everything turned on. Alright. So that should be compacted coal now rolling out. Excellent. On a Mark III belt, 270. We only need 240 per minute rolling upstairs. Now, just while I'm down here, I'm going to cut off the old packager. We're going to cut off and delete the old canisters and all of that infrastructure we set up in that previous video. We'll leave this obviously full with the dimensional depot on top. That's fine. We can send that to our base to use later. We can get rid of all of this stuff now, making the canisters. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to actually just boost the power here a little bit, because we're turning on additional refineries, so we might run into trouble. So we'll just go up to 250. And that's 50 per minute. So that's consuming all the fuel that we're making right now down here, so that's fine. And just get rid of some of this crap out of the way. Alright, moment of truth. We'll just connect this back up. Bonk. That turns back on my refinery. So they're going to start churning out the heavy oil yet again. The heavy oil is going to run along into the turbo fuel refineries. So just connect that. Alright, turbo fuel refineries are on. They're receiving their first batches of compacted coal. We're making our first batches of turbo fuel. That's going to roll out into here. Well, it's going to really just run straight through it and start feeding all of these fuel generators. Now, we might get a little cheeky with it. I'm just worried about the power tripping. How close are we to having that happen? Ooh, we're on a knife's edge. We're about 100 or 200 megawatts away. Yeah, I actually changed it to daytime because I was worried that the night lights would push us over the edge, and I think it would have actually, because we're really close. Like all the lights that come on at night on the Spire Stream pipeline, I think would be about 600 megawatts. So that probably would have pushed me over the edge. But once these are up, hey, look, we got our first bit of turbo fuel in here. Nice. But yeah, now it's really just a waiting game. We just have to wait for these to be full. All right, there we go. So I just manually fed them all with compacted coal. So now it's just like, it guarantees the manifold is full. It guarantees they're all sucking up that heavy oil. So none of the heavy oil should get backed up in any of these. Now, the pipeline was so rammed, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe some on the very end are still getting a little backed up. So we could just check those. Yeah, kind of makes sense. We could just, you know, help them along. Just these couple on the end here, so they don't get too full. It's just because the heavy oil is just, you know, it was just rammed, really rammed on the, so it just doesn't have any way to get out just yet. But it should be fine now, I think. Even just doing that little bit of clearance should be good. Now, we should see that turbo fuel is filling all of these machines. Like I said, we could check them all individually, or we could just check the buffer. We know that when the buffer is full, these machines are full. And we're making now 240 turbo fuel per minute. So that's going to go into 16 generators. And 16 generators are going to make 500 megawatts, because we have them overclocked to 200%, not 250. And that's going to give us 8,000 megawatts of power. We're currently on 5,000, so this will be a nice big boon. And then we're going to duplicate it over on the other side. So in fact, while I'm waiting here, we could just grab this blueprint, flip it around. We should be nice and aligned. I need 8 of these, and then the walkway one on the other side. So there's one. Ooh, I just thought of something, actually. This is coming with its own power pole. I guess there's no problem. I was going to say that you could cut down on the amount of power poles, but why bother? All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, there we go. That's 400 per minute. Now, turbofuel is going to start pooling in the machines if we don't turn these on. So, we simply connect every single generator to its little sister power pole. Let's do the same on the other side. Just on this left side to start with. Alright, and the last one, boom. So now we can check our power, and look at that. Dun, 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 dun. We're up to 4,000 megawatts. Now that's just on its own little network. Of course, we want to connect that to the mains, and then we can do downstairs, because we'll have the power to do it. So we'll just connect this from here to here for now. And boom. So our regular power network, we were at about, I don't know why, production. Oh, we must be using some of the biomass. Wow, we were really on the edge. Well, now we've got plenty of space, so we don't have to worry about that. 9,200, not fluctuating. It was fluctuating, just using the little bit of biomass back at base. That's so funny. All right, cool. So the next thing is to go downstairs, delete all of those refineries, and add in now new turbo fuel refineries in their place. We'll then split the compacted coal between them, remove these generators, and we should be good to go. So I'll just get started. See you later. And they served us well, but no more fuel anymore, just turbo fuel from here on out. All right, cool. So you're no longer needed. You're no longer needed. We're looking good. Are you guys receiving heavy oil? You are indeed. So we're going to wait till they get backed up, then we send in the compacted coal. This should be straightforward enough. So you're going to receive your coal that way, and you're just going to go here and in. Right, so you now need to be a Mark IV, and you need to go in there. Alright, so there goes our 480 per minute rolling upstairs to power on the machines that are already up and running, but we'll give these guys compacted coal manually like we did before, just to get them started before heavy oil starts to back up. It looks like it's already backing up. So annoying how quick that happens. Alright, so just taking compacted coal, and we're going to force this manifold to get going. So just throwing them into each refinery here. Alright, so while we wait for this buffer now to fill, I might just join some of the walkways, do a bit of the cosmetics as well. Again, these have to lead out to some sort of tower on that side and this side, and then these two sides to go up and downstairs. The big negative with this build would be the fact that if you're in the very center, you've got no way of getting up and down easily. You have to run to one of the edges, unless I decide to build one in somewhere here or something, because this could just lead down towards the sand, actually, and this would be center aligned. The other side would be the pumps. So yeah, maybe I'll just have to play around with the cosmetics. You might see that in the, if I do a cinematic at the end. It's kind of interesting, right? If you think about it, we have 16 generators here times an inventory space of 50. So there's 800 space that needs to be filled just in those machines. And we're making 240 per minute. So 800 divided by 240, you know, it's going to take 3 to 4 minutes before all of these get full. Then combine all of the kind of space on each pipe, right? So there's 22 space on this one. Then there's the 400 buffer. So, you know, it takes a little while. It's like 6-7 minutes to fill this whole thing and make it, like I say, rammed, so it's got nowhere else to go. But then once it does, you know, fill these completely, you just notice it suddenly, this will start jumping up, and then we can turn it on, basically. All right, we have hit max capacity, so now is the time to just turn these all on. Just connect them together, join them to each other's network, and reap the rewards. Oh yeah, I just realized I never actually hooked up that middle row, and I was looking at those numbers and it never dawned on me that these are separated. So let's just go straight across to this one, just even temporarily. That should be everything hooked up now. That's more like it. Yeah, now we're up to 18,700. Yeah, previously I was actually only looking at the additional 8. I forgot, we didn't actually hook up this row to that row, so that was my bad. That's quite funny. But yeah, this row is now hooked up to that one, and that one's hooked up as well. So this is the true number. 18,700 megawatts. Each one is running at 8,000 each floor. So we've got 16,000 here in total. So if we have a look, this was previously running 2,500. So now we can say that it's running 16,000 in total. And then our other power is just down to the east, and that's 2,700. Those two combined, 18,700. Nice, clean line. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as is becoming tradition with this series, we're going to end with a cinematic recap from start to finish of the whole production chain. So we start off with our oil, which of course is being pumped up onto the Spire Stream pipeline, which is deep in the Spire coast and snakes its way west. No, east, back into the Dune Desert. And then we have Spire Stream Pumping Station A, which is right next to the Dune Canyons. That then, of course, goes through the Dune Desert and right over our new compacted coal facility, where inside we've got 20 assemblers, making 480 compacted coal per minute, thanks to the sulfur and coal combinations. The coal excess is being used to also fuel the tractor that then delivers the compacted coal over to that monstrosity in the distance. Of course, we have our pumping station where the Spire Stream ends, 4 of which are active now with the valves. The valves have been released, 300 per minute on each one of those. And that's going into, each one going into 10 refineries. Plastic, plastic, rubber, rubber. That crosses the heavy oil then into the turbo fuel. The truck makes its delivery, the 480 compacted coal rolls out, and it gets split between these 8 turbo fuel refineries and the 8 other turbo fuel refineries upstairs. The turbo fuel, of course, gets pumped up to this floor as well, where the fuel generators are being placed. We have 2 buffers for each, and 16 generators for each, for a total of 32, all overclocked to 200%, giving us 8,000 megawatts of power each, for a total combined 16,000. Still have to do the cosmetics. I just ran out of time. But there she is. If you have suggestions on what we could do to maybe add to the other sides, let me know. That's it from me. I'll see you in the next one.